when we FOIL this out, the first ones you're going to get an x squared. The outside ones you'll get a plus 7x. The inside ones plus 2x. And the last one's plus 14. And the outside and the inside happen to be like terms. So they get combined to make your 9x. And this is a pattern I want you to start to recognize, that your first ones match up to the first one when it's done. The last ones match up to the last one when it's done. And the outside and the inside always will get combined to be the middle one. Are you ready for the answers for the next ones? No? How about 2 of them? If I give you 2 of them so you can check how you're doing. If you do not know how this is happening, if this FOIL is confusing for you, make sure you're either putting your hand up and asking or asking around you, because it is super important for the next step where we work backwards. The next step will be, I'll give you the answer. You have to see if you can figure out what it was to begin with. We multiplied this out, we would get 3x squared, 3x times 5 is 3, minus 9x, minus 5x, and then plus 15. Combine your like terms in the middle, and you get minus 14x. 3x squared minus 14x plus 15. The reason we need to get really good at multiplying it out is because our next step will be working backwards. So here we have x squared plus 11x plus 24. And in this one, I'm not going to multiply it out. Instead, I'm just going to check it. And in the check, I'm going to do this. Do my first ones make x squared? Do my last ones make 24? And if I combine the outside and the inside together, outside here, inside there, if those were combined, do you get 11? Okay? So we'll do that with the next one as well. We're just going to check this answer. We have x squared minus plus 2x minus 8. Do my first ones give me x squared? Yes. Do my last ones give me negative 8? And if I did the outside and the inside together, does it give plus 2? You see how the inside is plus 4 and the outside is minus 2x? That will give me plus 2x if they're combined. Do my first ones make 2x squared? Do my last ones make minus 3? And if I put my outside and my inside together, can you see that the outside now is minus 6x plus a 1x? Does that give me minus 5x? Yes. Now, on your scrap paper, we are going to see if you can use that. What we just did is a check, if you can use that to figure out factoring. Okay? So we're going to start with level 1. Level 1 questions look like this. We're going to start with x squared plus 5x plus 6. Put a brackets here. And just the way that we checked last time, we're going to use that to figure things out this time. Here's my first one. What do you think the first ones have to be in your brackets to get an x squared? X and x. Perfect. Okay. Now the last ones, you have some choices. What could your last numbers be to equal 6? 2 and 3. Is there anything else that equals 6? 1 and 6. So now it becomes a problem, which one is going to work? Is 2 and 3 going to work, or is 6 and 1 going to work? And we need the outside and the inside to make 5. And with factoring, actually a good strategy is if you don't know, try one and check it. So which one would you like to try first? 2 and 3 or 6 and 1? 2 and 3. So if we try 2 and 3, I need to get plus 6, so there's also an option here. They can be both positive or both negative. You see that a negative 2 and a negative 3 makes positive 6, and a positive 2 and a positive 3 makes positive 6. But we need our outside and our inside to make plus 5. So if they're both positive, again, if you don't know, try something. Try either both positive or both negative. If they're both positive, does our outside and inside make 5? Yes. And so this would be factoring this one completely. I can slightly change this question. This is still level 1. Try it on your own. It still has the 6. It still has the x squared. Are you pretty good that the first ones have to be x and x? But it's not going to be 2 and 3 with pluses this time because that one was 5. Now it's 7. How did you do? Did you get plus 6 and plus 1? Do you see how the outside makes 1x, the inside makes 6x? If you wrote the 6 and the 1 the other way, can you see that that's the same thing? Because when you multiply two things, it doesn't matter the order. So I wrote x plus 6 and x plus 1. If you wrote x plus 1 and x plus 6, that's completely the same and the same answer. Can you check here? Do you see that your first ones, right? Once you're done factoring, always check. Do your first ones give you x squared? Do your last ones give you a plus 6? And do your outside and inside give you 7? Ready for another level 1? I'm going to give you x squared plus 8x plus 15. For those of you that are getting good at level 1s, we'll give you 2 level 1s at the same time. I'll give you 3 level 1s at the same time. I mean, the second ones are harder level 1s just because I've bigger numbers in your times table. They're almost getting to level 2s. They're just like level 1.5s there at the end. Let's check these level 1s. For the first one to be an x squared, did you get x and x? The last one is 15. Could be 15 and 1 or 5 and 3. Did you see that 5 and 3 made your outside 3x, inside 5x? 5x plus 3x would give me 8x. That works for your middle one. Still works for your last one. Still works for your first one. First one here, x squared, x and x. 36. This is like a level 1.5 because 36 is a little bit trickier because 36 could be 6 and 6, could be 12 and 3, could be 4 and 9, could be 36 and 1. So when we need to know our times table, for working on factoring, times table comes very important because you have to think of all the things that multiply to 36. 6 and 6, my outside and inside only gives me 12. 12 and 3, my outside and inside would give me 15. So if we're struggling on figuring out the numbers that work, usually it's an indication that we need to know our times table better and practice our times table even more. So this unit will be good for that because it's going to help you practice your times table. With 36, 36 is also 9 times 4. And now when I check my outside is 4x, my inside is 9x, that adds to 13x. X and x. 54. Sometimes the number in the middle kind of gives you a hint. You need 29. That's a pretty big number. So what multiplies to 54? Well, it's 9 times 6, right? But 9 times 6 doesn't add to 29. What also multiplies to 54? 27 times 2. Now my outside is 2x, my inside is 27x. Does that make 29x? Yes. And I like this one because when you see it, you're like, of course, but if you're not seeing it, it's because there's a times table that's so easy for you that sometimes you overlook it. It's your 1 times table. The only thing that multiplies to x squared would be x and x. The only whole numbers that multiply to 11 are 1 and 11. Plus and plus is my outside is 11x, my inside is 1x. That gives me 12x. Are you guys feeling that you're ready for level 2?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. X and x. This one, 9 and 6, we talked about it already. And x. The 38, 36 times 2 is 72. That gives us 38. Level 2, add some negatives. There we go. X squared plus 2x minus 8. X squared minus 3x minus 40. X squared Were you able to tell that your first ones had to be x and x to get x squared? Now the last one with 8, 4 and 2 makes 8. And my outside is a 2x, my inside is a 4x. And in the past, in level 1, we just added. Level 2 makes you think you could either add or subtract. With negatives in there, you might subtract or add. So does 4x and 2x ever add or subtract to give you 2x? Yes. It would work if I had a plus 4x and a minus 2x. So you see how my inside is plus 4x and my outside is minus 2x. And when I double check, my first one's working. When I double check my last one, is plus 4 times a minus 2 a minus 8? Yes. Second one. First one's x and x. And now, I need something for 40. 40 has a bunch of options. It's 4 times 10, 2 times 20, 1 times 40, 8 times 5. So what you have to sort of do is go through your options, and then you might say, well, if I use 8 and 5, my outside is 5x, my inside is 8x. Does that ever add or subtract to give me 3? Yes. Now I need to get a negative 3. Does it make sense that you would need a negative 8x and then a plus 5x to get you a negative 3x? So again, I'm going to double check, do my first ones work? Yes. Do my last ones give me negative 40? Because negative 8 and plus 5, yes, it gives me the negative 40. And does my outside and inside give me a negative 3x? Yes. One more, and then I'll give you time, and I'll scroll down so you can see the other level too. Minus 14, x squared. Level 1 and level 2, the first one is super easy. When we get to level like 5, the first ones get tricky. Level 4 might get, level 5 I think. First ones can get tricky, but right now the first ones are super easy. With x squared, it has to be x and x. Minus 14 and a 5. Again, if you don't know, try something. So I know that 14 is 7 times 2, so I just try it. Does my outside and my inside, could that make 5 with adding or subtracting? Yes. Now I want a plus 5, so I'm going to make my inside plus 7x and my outside minus 2x. But I need to double check. Do my first ones work? Yes. Do my last ones give me negative 14? 7 and negative 2? Yes, negative 14. I've got some coming up where you could get tempted to do one thing, and when you check, it actually doesn't work. And do my outside and inside make 5? Yes, they do. All right, I'll scroll down and give you some time to work on these next 5. Checking how you did. Bracket, 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 bracket. First one's x and x give you x squared. 48, lots of options. But 24 times 2, my outside is 2, my inside is 24. That adds or subtracts to give me negative 22. How would it do that? Well, if my 24 was negative and my 2 was positive. So you see how you're putting in numbers and you're checking outside and inside, adding, subtracting to see if they work. This is the level 2, but we've got a plus sign here again. So I've got x and x. My first one's super easy. My last one's a 15. My inside is an 8. Numbers that multiply to 15, so my outside and inside make 8. Can you see 5 and 3? They add to make 8, but it needs to be a negative 8. So it's going to be a negative 5 and a negative 3. Does that still work with our last one? Does that give me a plus 15? Yes, it does. Negative 5 times negative 3 makes a plus 15. Okay. A little observation. I don't know if you noticed it. If the last number is positive, then the outside and inside add to get this number. Either they add negatives or they add positives. If your last number is negative, then your outside and inside always subtract to get the middle number. Do you notice that pattern? That sometimes you're adding to get to the middle number. So this is a positive. I know that I'm going to have to add my numbers outside and inside to get 12. It's going to be 9 and 3. 9 and 3 adds to get 12. Now it's a negative 12, so they would both have to be negatives. Outside negative 3x, inside negative 9x. That gives me negative 12x. And negative 9 times negative 3 is still plus 27. These are my favorite level 2s, the last ones. They're my favorite level 2s because in your head, you have 6 times 4 is 24 quicker than you have 12 times 2 is 24. Just because your times table, you learned 6 times 4 better than you learned 12 times 2. Because usually you learn your times table up to 10 times table first, and then what grade did they say, oh, you should extend it to 12? What grade was that? Grade 8, grade 9, right? But before that, it was like, oh, start with your 10 times table. So you know 6 times 4 comes quicker in your head than 12 times 2. And so this one, almost always I see this, x and x, 6 and 4, because they get really excited for 10. Because does 6 and 4 make 10? It does. So like, oh, I need a negative 10. So you put 2 negatives here, and if you don't check your final answer, you're going to get this one wrong. What's wrong with this?
Negative times negative equals 5.
That would be the positive. In fact, that's the right answer for this second one. This second one is x minus 6 and x minus 4. So there are some numbers out there that if you don't check your answer, you're going to think you got it right, but you actually make a small mistake. This one, wow, there we go. Take out our eraser, this didn't work. The minus here, this is the hint, the minus says you have to subtract to get 10, so we have to use 12 and 2. If I want a minus 10, I would need the 12 to be negative and the 2 to be positive. And now if you check the first, the last, the outside and the inside, it does work. So there are a couple of numbers in our times table that can play tricks on us. 24 and 10 is one of them. Here's another one. This one is also, this is the easiest tricky one that exists. Easiest tricky one that exists. This is the hardest, easiest level too. I know if that makes sense. Well, the x squared is easy, right? It has to be x and x. Why is this a tricky one? Because what do you think when you see 6 and you see 5? Does 2 and 3 jump out right away? And 2 and 3 is wrong. Because if you try 2 and 3, how do you get a minus 5? They would both have to be negative to give you the minus 5, right? But then if I multiply my last ones, I get negative times a negative plus 6. Oh. And the reason this one's tricky is because it uses our 1 times table again, which is so easy that you forget about it. It's going to be, oops, erase this too. It's going to be 6 and 1, with the 6 being negative and the 1 being positive. Because now my outside is 1x, my inside is negative 6x. 1 minus 6 is negative 5. That works, and my last ones are negative. So sometimes you're going to be tempted to use the wrong numbers and it's going to look like it's going to work. So it's very important that we always, when we're done factoring, do a quick check. Do my first ones work? Do my last ones work? Do the outside and inside work? If they do, then you know you factored it correctly. Level 3. There's 4 level 3 ones. Okay. So level 3, by adding that 2x squared out there, actually doesn't make the first one harder. Because if my first one's a 2x, can you see it? Like, that's your only option to get 2x squared. You have to have 2x and x. We're using whole numbers. Now the last one is a 5, and this is what makes level 3 different, is because it's going to be different, and I'm going to do it here in orange and blue. These are your options. In level 1 and 2, these options weren't different. Can you see in level 3 why they're different?
Yeah.
Okay, because in level 3, if I use the blue ones, my outside is 10x and 1x. Does 10x and 1x ever add or subtract to get 7? No, so I would know this doesn't work. But the orange one, can you see my outside is 2x and my inside is 5x. Does 2x and 5x ever make 7x? Yes. So the answer, I'll erase this here. Whoops. Do a quick check. My first ones work. Do my last ones give me +5? They do. Does my outside 2x and inside 5x combine to make 7x? Absolutely. Okay. Did you get 3x and x? Did you get 2 and 2? Next one, did you get 2x and x? Did you get 9 and 3 this way? The 9 has to go with the 2x, the 3 has to go with the x. 5x and x. 3 and 4. All right, let's start with more of these next class.